Hello and welcome to another episode of Purpose Today. I'm your host, Dr. April Dobson, and I'm very excited to have our very special guest today, Morgan Carey. Morgan is a podcast host. She is a chief HR strategist and the principal of Morgan Carey Consulting Solutions. I'm very excited to have her here as our guest today. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Purpose Today. I am very excited to welcome our special guest, Morgan Carey. Morgan, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you for having me, Dr. April. Good to be here.
You're very welcome, and it's a pleasure to have you here on the show. So I know that our viewers may not necessarily be familiar with you. So do you mind, could you please share a little bit of information about yourself with our viewers?
Absolutely. I am Morgan Carey, originally from Richmond, Virginia. I am an HR expert, entrepreneur, and advocate for change in leadership and workplace culture. I say that I'm an advocate for building better workplaces. I have over 15 years of experience in human resources, process development, and leadership training. And as you can see, I am the Chief HR Strategist and CEO of Morgan Carey Consulting Solutions. I help small businesses and organizations build strong, people-focused workplaces. And I am also a runner. I love to run and I love to take care of my well-being. I'm a family girl, love my family, daddy's girl through and through. And I'm the host of the People Power Project podcast, where I challenge traditional workplace norms and empower people to take charge of their careers and their lives.
That is awesome. Well, thank you so much, Morgan, for sharing insight about yourself. And I know you shared earlier that you really believe in changing the culture of workforces. Tell us a little bit more about that, because, our viewers might be wondering, well, what exactly is that? And what do you do?
Yes, like I said, advocate for building better workplaces. And I believe that when you master yourself and you learn more about yourself and you're doing the thing that you love to do, then you can show up as a person that is ready to connect, build, love, and grow the people that are around you and the people that you lead. So I help advocate for that, and I help guide and coach individuals on how to do that better with actionable and practical steps. And without doing that, it's hard to build a better workplace, right? Your workplace, you are the people are the workplace, right? It's just not this big entity or this big building or whatever. It's the people that drive the outcomes.
Yes, I agree with that. And I've talked about, before how organizations can't achieve their mission without people who do it. So you and I definitely align on that, and that's great. And so I know that there's a lot of things that you're doing to really make an impact and to inspire others, in your local community and around the world. So can you just share some insight with our viewers on some of your efforts and what you have on the horizon?
Yeah, absolutely. My impact, I think, extends beyond human resources. I love human resources, by the way. And sometimes you don't find people that are like, oh, I love working in HR, but I think it's because HR gets a bad rep. And I have this message, right, that I call unskewing the message. I tell people all the time, I know unskew isn't really a word, but I made it one. Okay. I made it one because somewhere between what HR professionals learn to do when we go to school, we learn to be there for the people, show up with empathy, lead well, right? But then sometimes the message gets skewed, right? That HR is not really there to do that, or HR getting this bad rep. So I'm really passionate about unskewing that bad messaging, right? But I'm also passionate about helping people lead better lives, right? Through leadership development, career career coaching, and even health and wellness initiatives, like I mentioned before, running and taking care of myself. And this kind of spawned from my battle with breast cancer, right? I'm also a U.S. Army veteran. And so my running started there, but actually digging into the wellness and well-being of your whole self started after I came through my breast cancer journey, right? I also created something called the King Jack Legacy Miles Challenge. This is in honor of my beautiful father. I said, I'm a daddy's girl through and through, who I lost last year this time. And so in honor of him, I like to inspire people to move with purpose, live with purpose, because he was all about that, right? And then on the horizon, I'm expanding my HR consulting business, launching more leadership and development courses, and continue to grow the podcast, the People Power Project podcast, to amplify these conversations and help build better leaders through the awareness. Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, my condolences on the passing of your dad. But I'm so glad that you're taking the legacy that he left and you're inspiring others, with that. And so thank you, for everything that you have done and the things that you're continuing to do to really inspire others and to give back. And you mentioned a little bit about, purpose and why you think purpose is important. And you talked about your love and passion for HR. I think it's a good time for us to really talk about, your perspective. If you can expound on it a little bit more, you talked about it just a little bit just now, but if you can expound more on your perspective regarding purpose and passion and how that fits in our lives and the relevance of purpose and passion for us.
Yeah, absolutely. I really believe that you have to be doing what you love. Okay. In order to get the most success. Now, you can be successful in something that you don't really like, but I think to get the most success, and I guess that might be subjective, is like, what's the most success? I think being successful includes being happy in what you're doing every day. When you get up, even if you don't feel like doing it, is this something that you love doing? Would you do it without getting paid? Now, we know we want to get paid, but would you be able to do this without getting paid? I think that purpose is what drives us, right? When you swing your legs out of bed in the morning, are you ready to go, with this thing you have to do? Or are you like, oh, I don't feel like doing this today, or I don't feel like doing this any day. I don't want to do this at all, right? The purpose is what drives us, and passion is the energy that fuels the purpose, right? And so that you got to have passion about the thing that you're doing. And I got into HR because I thought I wanted to be a teacher. Well, my parents thought I wanted to be a teacher. Let me just say that they told me that I wanted to be a teacher because I love so much. And I do love children and I do love teaching, but being in the classroom just didn't pan out to be the thing that I love to do. But I tell you this one thing about purpose: if you really dig into it, I believe it follows you and it's going to find you no matter what. So I did some teaching and in a few classrooms, and it never really resonated with me. So then I came out of the classroom and I decided I'm going to tutor these kids around the city, right? I started doing that. Loved it, right? I started tutoring Spanish because, let me say, I love Spanish and I think it's so important for kids to learn it as children. I think the U.S. does it wrong. We teach kids when they get older languages, and we really should start when they're babies because that's when they can just learn everything. And so I'm passionate about kids learning languages. So I went into teaching Spanish to kids who hadn't learned it yet in middle school and high school. Right. So I decided I'm going to do this outside, and I'm going to, go from home to home and do it. Well, I like doing it, but it also wasn't really the passion.
Right.
And so one day I found myself like, Morgan, what do you want to do next? I'm teaching in a classroom, teaching Spanish, not really loving it. What do you want to do next? And a commercial for the military comes on. I go to the military and decide I'm going to do supply in military because I really didn't know any better. Right. But get into the military. Still, the teaching thing isn't working. I'm not sure what I'm going to do in the civilian world. I said, I'm going to reclass to HR because I can teach. I can love the people that way. I can still, I can still be in a helping profession. And that really set me on the path to HR. And it started, honestly, with the United States Army, right? Wow. Set me on that path, loved HR. And then when you know it, I found myself in a school doing human resources, a school that teaches bilingual education, and get this, Spanish for the kids.
That is awesome.
Everything I just told you I was doing, I end up in this profession, all the passion and all the purpose. And every day I got to get up and do human resources at a bilingual school where people are teaching. It's just beautiful.
That is awesome. Do you find that there was any similarities, or was there a major shift from the HR that you delved into in your military career when you decided you were going to reclass in the Army to your HR experiences post-military?
Absolutely. I mean, it's not the same. It's not the same. And I know know this as a veteran as well. It's a different kind. And there is like a shift that has to happen. It's a little bit of a mental shift, more of a mental shift, I think, than just the work, the type of work that it is. And you're just in a different arena, different people, but the love for the work can be the exact same. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. And, I know that there are a lot of people who I've talked to, and I see this sometimes online, people who want to transition into an HR profession, and that's something that they feel purpose to do, something that they feel passionate about. What tips or suggestions would you give someone who doesn't have any HR experience, who might want to transition into an HR profession?
I love this question. Because Morgan Carey Consulting Solutions actually has a program that helps people kind of shift into human resources, or aspiring, if they're coming out of college, coming out of a program, and actually get the experience, hands-on experience, and things that they need to build their human resources career. Because a lot of times HR is one of those careers that if you don't have experience, it's hard to get the job to get the experience. But that's weird, because I'm trying to get the job. Right. So you do need some of the hands-on things, and people want to see that you have, experienced things that you will experience working on their job, because you're doing work that they don't really want to do in the HR profession. So they want you to know how to do it. So what I would start with is, if you can't get the job with the education that you have now, you want to start kind of building your experience through the things you have access to. Start building your transferable skills, right? And really think about, how can I use what I'm doing now to learn more about human resources aspects that I need to use later, right? I told you that I started a tutoring service, right? Well, my tutoring service wasn't just me tutoring people. I wound up employing other tutors, right? So I had to hire workers. I had to pay those workers after I hired them. These are HR functions. And this is what I mean when I say build your HR career like I did, because before I even got a really official human resources job, I began to build my human resources experience. Additionally, I've served as a supervisor in other industries, right? I was working in other industries like the mortgage industry. I served as a supervisor, a leader, and a lot of the skills that you develop yourself as a supervisor or a manager, you can also use them in the human resources field. So transferable skills is the key, and also beginning to build your HR career that you can put on your resume.
Absolutely. And, I'm really glad that you said that a lot of the skills that you gain in other opportunities give you the experience. Yeah. And you mentioned management. And I know that that's an area that a lot of people overlook in terms of how it relates to HR, because you can delve into labor relations when you're, identifying and helping to resolve issues between employees who you supervise. Most managers have to interview candidates. So what are some of the other functions that you see as a manager that someone could have as a transferable skill into HR?
There's definitely some overlap. Glad you mentioned that. Like you said, the interviewing, screening, reviewing resumes, you can do all of these things as a manager, but also you will need to be able to do those things as a HR person, right? Being able to interact, recruiting. I have managers that actually are involved in the recruiting process as well. They don't just leave it to the HR department. They will actually go out and recruit. They also go to career events as a manager, not necessarily working in human resources, but all of these things are things you can use in HR. Employee relations. The supervisor is the first point of contact for your staff, not HR, right?
Right.
So the supervisor is heavily involved in employee relations, conflict resolution. These are all expertise that you need in HR, but you can practice them as a supervisor, as a manager. So, and the leader in you, okay, even if you don't have the official title and you're like, I may want to transition into HR one day, maybe begin to practice those things. There may be a team at your job that's like a leadership team or a team lead position, or even volunteering to actually lead a group at your job. These are all transferable things that if you ever want to apply for an HR position, you can write on your resume and say, hey, I did this in this area, and these things overlap with some of the functions of HR.
That is awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that, Morgan.
Yeah.
And then earlier you talked a little bit about the program that you have through Morgan Carey Consulting Solutions for individuals to have an HR certification process to really learn more about HR. What are some of the other areas that Morgan Carey Consulting Solutions is helping clients in?
Yeah. So like I might have said it earlier when I was first speaking, that we help organizations build their HR from the ground up. This is one of my specialties. And so I train other HR representatives to do the same thing. Many of us have gone on a job, right, where you didn't have a lot of guidance, where it's like, hey, here you go. Here's the job. Here's your desk. There you go. In my experience having that happen, I became an expert in building departments from the ground up, right? Knowing where to start, knowing what the department needs, knowing how to communicate with outside vendors, and develop things that help make a good workplace for your team members and for your staff. And so now I take that service that I learned how to do, and I teach other people how to do it the Morgan Carey way. I consult organizations on how to do this and build a better workplace from the beginning. Many times HR is seen as like the cleanup department. So I got this mess, and now I want to get this person to bring it in. My advocacy is around, let's try to do it before you get the mess. So let's try to do it as you're building your organization. We serve as a true HR business partner. So as you're building your business and you want to focus on, as the business owner or the leader, you want to focus on the content of whatever your organization provides, let us do the admin. Let us help you build that business, the people part of the business, so you can be successful there without having to go back and clean it up.
That's awesome. And so if there are viewers who are watching, business owners, individuals who are watching, is there a certain geographic area in terms of, clients for Morgan Carey Consulting Solutions, or do you offer services on a virtual basis?
I offer services on a virtual basis. And if there is a need for us to be there to give an in-person training, we've had to do this as well. It's just a plane ride or a car ride or a bus ride. We can get there, right? We can make it happen. But most of what we do can happen virtually. So we work with people all over the place.
That's wonderful. And then if people are interested in, learning more, what steps would they need to take?
You can always visit me at morgancareyconsulting.com. Go to the website and you can click on our offerings, and you'll learn about something called the People Power Project Circle, right? The People Power Project Circle is a community where we help organizations and individuals build these skills that we're talking about here. There's different tiers where if your organization may not be ready for a full contract, or they may not be ready for full-on contracting services or a full-on HR department, but we can start small. We can start somewhere, because we say we got to get started, right? And don't wait until there's a mess for someone to come back and fix it. And that's what the People Power Circle does for you. Also, it's a community to connect with other like-minded professionals, other like-minded business owners that are growing, and you can bounce questions off of them, live Q&As, things like that, right? And so that's a great way to connect. Go to morgancareyconsultants.com, click on the offerings, and then click on whatever it is that you are interested in, whether it's the People Power Project Circle or getting a contract.
That's awesome. And I know you mentioned the People Power Project Circle, but I want us to talk a little bit about the People Power Project podcast. And I know that you are making some waves with that. So could you share with our viewers more information on your podcast?
Yes, you see, I got excited about that because this is Morgan Carey Consulting Solutions, baby, the People Power Project podcast, all those P's. But the whole idea of this podcast is to spread the awareness that your power is in your people, right? And that is how you make the connection to growth and success in your organization, in your company. And on the People Power Project podcast, we are talking each week about the things that affect you as a leader, as a business owner, as an executive, and your individual contributors. So as a business owner leader, I want you to come on. I want you to listen to see what your managers and your individual contributors are saying so you can maybe improve some things or learn what you're doing great. Also on the People Power Project Circle, you get individual time with me. There are episodes where I'm just talking, telling you my stories, telling you my workplace adventures, and you can learn and develop and hear about all the great things happening with Morgan Carey Consulting Solutions and Morgan Carey as the leader.
That is awesome. And I know you said that the People Power Project podcast is a Morgan Carey Consulting Solutions baby, but what really inspired you to start the podcast?
Yes, to get that awareness out there. I think that there's a level that I can do going place to place and talking to individual business owners and contributors, but I wanted to get the message out to a broader audience. And you'd be surprised at the people that are like, oh my gosh, you're dropping gems, you're really helping me. And it's really my way to give back and to serve, to give the pointers and the advice and the actionable advice to people who may not need to take on a whole consultant service, or they may not be able to take on the coaching, but they can get some coaching by listening in weekly to the People Power Project podcast.
That is awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. I know we unpacked a lot, today, and this has certainly been an amazing discussion. Is there anything else, about Morgan Carey Consulting Solutions, the People Power Project podcast, or yourself that we haven't talked about today that you'd like to talk about with our viewers before we leave today?
Well, I want to thank you. I want to thank you for the opportunity to come and talk. And I am very passionate about this topic of leadership, people leadership, and leading well, right? I'm a leader that leads with my heart. And I think that love belongs in leadership and human resources. I had this one time, one person on social media tell me love does not belong in HR. And I really questioned whether or not they belong in HR because love lives here. Okay. Right. And what I want people to know is that HR cares, your leader cares. There are plenty of us that care about your well-being as an individual contributor, manager, or a business owner. And I want you to lock into the People Power Project podcast wherever you listen to your podcast, especially on YouTube, to get more actionable advice and insights. And just keep following Morgan Carey Consulting Solutions. Thank you.
You're welcome. And thank you so much for being our guest today. This has certainly been such a pleasure to have you on the show. And I know that leadership is another area that's important to you, as you mentioned today, as we've been talking. If you could give 3 leadership tips to help individuals and leaders to improve their workplaces, because you're empowering people to improve workplaces, what would those 3 leadership tips be?
Work on yourself. Personal development, personal mastery, it is going to take you to you as a person to new heights. It will allow you to radiate the love for your job, the love for people, the love for whatever it is, whatever your goals and dreams you're trying to achieve, it will radiate and it will transmit to other people. So continue to work on yourself, read the books, do the meditating, connect spiritually, love on yourself, because that is going to help you become the kind of leader that you want to become. Number 2, focus on who you are becoming, because that is the important part. It's not about how much you make, what title you get, where you work. It is about who you are. And I would just encourage anyone to stay there. And 3, make sure you're taking care of yourself. Always take care of yourself. Okay. So develop personally, focus on who you're becoming, and take care of yourself. Wellness is key, because if you're not here and you're not well, none of this matters.
That is good. I think those are all wonderful tips. And thank you so much for sharing that. I know that a lot of people might want to connect with you. So I know earlier you shared your website, morgancareyconsulting.com. What are some other ways that viewers can reach you if they want to contact you?
Yeah, sure. You can send me an email at mcarey@morgancareyconsulting.com. You can also reach me on Instagram at Morgan_Carey Consulting, and I'm happy to connect with you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Morgan. So we've got your website there for folks who want to connect with you. Also have your email if they want to reach out to you, mcarey@morgancareyconsulting.com, and then they can follow you on Instagram. So thank you so much. This has certainly been such a pleasure to have you on the show today. I really appreciate all of the gems. I appreciate your time. And so again, folks, if you haven't tuned in to the People Power Project podcast, I do encourage you to like and subscribe. And you can also have some additional insight and some wonderful gems from Morgan Carey. So thank you again, Morgan, for being our guest on today. Again, it has certainly been a pleasure to have you on Purpose Today with Dr. April Dobson. I know you're going to go backstage and we're going to chat again here in a moment. And for all of our guests, don't go anywhere this special break. Thank you so much, Morgan.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Welcome back. Thank you so much for staying locked in on Purpose Today. What an amazing interview with Morgan Carey of Morgan Carey Consulting Solutions. It was such a pleasure to have her on our show. Again, I do encourage all of you to make time to tune into the People Power Project podcast to get more insights from Morgan. So we talked a little bit about, in discussing with Morgan, the pivot that she made from a logistics career to HR, from teaching to HR. And so if you feel that you need to pivot, but you don't know how, email us at admin@purposetoday.com. That's admin@purposetoday.com. We love to have you as a guest on the show, and we love to help you to navigate through that pivot and how you can successfully do so. Thank you again for watching today. And until next time, live purpose today and every day. Thank you for tuning in.
That was great.
It was.